I baked over 300 cookies to figure out how to take your standard, unremarkable chocolate chip cookie and turn it into something truly amazing. These cookies have a fudgy, gooey center, crispy edges, and are perfectly chewy throughout. They don't require any eggs or dairy, and they're not hard to make, but there are a few special techniques you absolutely have to use. I'm gonna walk you through exactly what those are, and at the end of the video, we're gonna do a blind taste test with the best taste testers I know, my parents. The first decision in a chocolate chip cookie recipe is how do you want to treat the butter. I've got a block of plant butter from Violife, which is my favorite butter, and I'm measuring out the equivalent of 1.5 sticks. I'm a big proponent of browning butter in chocolate chip cookies because you get a more complex, richer flavor. And in comparison to creaming butter, which is a bit more traditional, you get a chewier, denser, fudgier texture. Once you see these more rapid bubbles, you want to stir frequently and continue heating it for about 2, maybe 3 minutes, depending on the brand of butter. So this is what it should look like when it's almost done. It's a little darker in color, and you start to see some of this foamy separation. This burner's a little hotter than my regular stove. We can't quite use this butter because it's too hot and it's gonna make the dough sticky and difficult to work with. So I'm gonna pop this in the fridge for 20-25 minutes until it chills to room temperature. The next decision is about the eggs, or rather, what do we use instead of eggs? So this is ground flaxseed meal, and we're gonna measure out 2 tablespoons of that with 5 tablespoons of warm water. Give that a whisk, and it'll eventually thicken up in about 10 or 15 minutes into kind of a gel consistency, a little bit thicker than beaten eggs. If you can, during that 10 to 15 minutes, whisk it a couple times just to keep it evenly combined. Our flax eggs have gelled up. You can see the consistency here. And our brown butter is also done chilling, so now it's time to combine all the liquid ingredients. When it comes to sugar, you can use brown sugar, you can use white sugar, or you can use a combination of the two. I think a Goldilocks situation where you use both works best because you get the soft, chewy center from the brown sugar plus some more flavor. But the white sugar is also important because it helps the cookies spread so you get those crispy edges. And we cannot forget the vanilla extract, pure vanilla extract, not the artificial stuff. We're going pretty generous here. We're doing a full tablespoon. You can use either an electric mixer or a whisk to combine the liquid ingredients. Either one works. If you're using a mixer, medium speed for about 30 seconds until you see kind of these waves form in there. And that is it for the wet ingredients. Now the dry ingredients are super simple. We're gonna start with 2 cups of all-purpose flour. And you might notice that I've been measuring everything on a scale. When it comes to baking, precision really matters, and a scale is so much more precise than measuring cups. 1/2 teaspoon of sea salt, 3/4 teaspoon baking soda. This last part is super optional, but I like to add a little espresso powder to any of my chocolate desserts. It really enhances the chocolatey flavor without tasting like coffee. If you have it, use it. If you don't, not a big deal. It's still a delicious cookie without it. All right, now we've come to my favorite part of the recipe, the chocolate. And this might sound kind of crazy, but I don't think the best chocolate chip cookies have chocolate chips. I know, but that's because most brands of chocolate chips are engineered to be melt resistant. So they contain emulsifiers or stabilizers to do that, and they have a lower percentage of cocoa butter. Cocoa butter is what makes chocolate smooth and rich and melty and delicious. So when you use chocolate chips, not only are you using a lower quality chocolate, but this might sound obvious, when you bake them in the oven, they don't melt. And then you just get these like individual dots of chocolate in your cookie, which I think is not enough chocolate. So instead, I like to chop up chocolate. I have 2 bars of dark chocolate that I previously chopped up. Some of the pieces end up big, so you get those sexy, melty pools of chocolate. And some of the pieces are just these tiny shards. And those kind of just like melt into the dough, so you get delicious chocolate in every single bite. And the higher quality chocolate, of course, tastes better, but it also helps the texture of the cookie because the extra moisture just helps it bake better. I'm not gonna add the chocolate just yet. First, we're gonna mix about half of the dry ingredients into the wet. You're gonna switch to a silicone spatula and fold until just combined. I'm gonna reserve 12 pieces of the chopped chocolate, and we'll add those before baking, and I'll show you what it does for the cookie. scoop the cookie dough, I like to use a large cookie scoop or an ice cream scoop. I think this is a number 16, if that means anything to anyone. Now these make big cookies, and I feel really strongly about this because they don't bake evenly, and that's a good thing. So by the time the edges of the cookie set, the middle won't have had time to bake through, so that's how you end up with that gooey, fudgy center while the edges are crispy. We've tested this with smaller cookies. The small cookies bake through at the same rate, so they don't have any textural variation, kind of just has one uniform texture throughout. So it's tasty, but it's not exciting. If you don't have a large cookie scoop, just use a 1/4 cup measuring cup. Take the reserved chocolate pieces and just press one into the top of each cookie, and that will give you a big, beautiful, melty pool of chocolate on top. If you are really excited to get these into the oven, I do have some unfortunate news. We cannot bake them quite yet. You have to let the cookie dough rest. I know it's an extra step, but I think it's actually the most important thing you can do for chocolate chip cookie dough. It helps the flavors meld together. It also hydrates the dough, so you just get a better textural variation in your cookie. Luckily for us, and honestly for me, I have made another batch of cookie dough. I made this about 2 days ago, so we'll go ahead and bake these today. Get your oven to 350 Fahrenheit, and a couple tips for preparing your pan appropriately. If you like really crispy edges like I do, then go ahead and skip the parchment paper because you will get a crispier edge without it. But you need a well-worn aluminum sheet pan like this or a non-stick pan, otherwise it will stick. And these are big boy cookies, so they're gonna spread out quite a lot. You wanna give them 3 inches of space between each cookie and between the edges. Bake these on the center rack for 14 to 16 minutes. And if you can, I would recommend baking one pan at a time. At this point, you might be wondering whether all of these little techniques make a difference. And actually, I'm curious about that myself. So I happened to find a recipe online that is kind of the inverse of my recipe. While I brown the butter, this recipe creams the butter. I use dark chocolate that's been chopped up. This recipe uses chocolate chips. I use 2 types of sugar. This one uses just 1 type of sugar. I make large cookies. This one makes small cookies. And I rest the dough, and this cookie gets baked immediately. So after I make mine, I'm gonna make that recipe that I found online and take it over to the best taste testers on YouTube, aka my parents, and see which cookie they prefer. Look at those! Very important finishing step, a little flaky sea salt. This is going to balance the sweetness. It's also going to bring out all the flavors. Chocolate and salt are just like best friends. You can see we've got those big melty pools of chocolate I was talking about. This is totally optional, but if you care about aesthetics and some of your cookies are a little wonky shaped, get a large biscuit cutter like this. And while the cookies are still hot, that's important, kind of circle it around the cookie in this motion. After these have been hanging out for about 10 minutes, you can lift them up with the spatula and let them cool further on a wire rack. So excited. This is so unbelievably good. It's sweet and salty and rich and chewy in all the right places and crispy in the right places and fudgy. But the real question is, what do my parents think? So I'm gonna bake that other recipe for chocolate chip cookies I found on the internet, take both versions over to my parents' house, and we're gonna do a fun little taste test.
Tell me the truth, which I never wear a hat.
Why are you wearing a man's hat? Are you like in an Italian country band?
You have so many nice hair.
You look like you're going down to the bayou.
How do I?
No, but don't wear the hat. Your hair are
She
so
put
good.
it. Can I buy you colorful shirts? I always wonder why you wear old men's clothes.
Way to throw Max under the bus. Hi everyone, welcome to our taste test. If you haven't met my parents already, this is my mom.
Hi, I'm Neela Vora.
And what's your name?
Deepak.
So I've prepared 2 versions of a dish for you today, and you don't know which one is mine, right? I haven't shown you anything. You don't even know what we're tasting, right?
It's a surprise for us, so we have no clue.
I made chocolate chip cookies.
Oh my God, I will taste both of them.
That's the point. Are you guys ready?
Yes.
Okay, this is the first one.
It's soft and chewy, but too thin.
I just love chocolate chip. regardless thin or thick or fat or
It
whatever.
also has a different flavor. I would not prefer.
I would not
This
prefer
man-
this flavor.
It's so blunt.
Also a little bit too sweet.
Is it too sweet for you?
Never.
Okay, well, don't fill up because we have another one to try. All right, this is cookie number 2.
Ah,
This is Nisha's. Obviously.
look at that. This is less sweet, this is softer, it has a sea salt. It was wonderful. Also, the
yeah.
quality of chocolate is better.
Chocolate is chocolate.
This cookie is not for your mom.
Clearly not.
I really love it.
Cookie should be like this. I love this dark chocolate with the crystals of salt. Fantastic.
So if you had to choose between these two cookies,
No comparison.
okay, and what about you?
Naturally, this one.
But you wouldn't mind if someone made you that. If you are a cookie connoisseur, definitely try out my recipe. And if you are not a cookie connoisseur, I think you'll still love it, but you might also like the basic chocolate chip cookie you can find on the internet. Thanks to my parents for joining us, and I'll see you guys in the next video.